is a fifth dimension beyond what is known to man. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind. You've just crossed over into the box score zone.
You got your timer?
Yeah, I got it.
What's the matter?
I don't know. I just don't know when you're joking and when you're not. I don't know. I just, maybe I take it too personally.
Just get in the box, all right?
Every time I try to do something and then, I try to make a funny joke or I mock headlines or, I'm booking all these guests and then all I hear is, all the stuff I'm not doing. And then, it just gets tiring for, all these years. And, Todd, I thought we had a great relationship. And then, I always have stomach issues and it's just after a while, I can't take it.
Mr. Dan Patrick, host of a well-listened-to radio show, has just transformed into the exact thing he has never wanted to become. A person who uses the confinements of this box to vent about things that do not matter. And on a day not dissimilar to this one, on a channel very similar to the one you're currently watching, the box score starts now.
I don't know a lot about sports, but I can drink a lot of beer.
My motto is simple: C's get degrees.
Need a long, inappropriate hug? I'm your man.
I think I'm smarter than you, because I probably am.
Howard Collins for box score.
Hello and welcome to the box score. I'm Brock in Los Angeles, joined by the Danettes, who are back after a short break following the holiday season. Seton, super loaded question number one. Did the time off do you guys any good?
We were a lot less snippy than I thought we were going to be today, so I think so, yeah. I think it did actually do us some good.
God, you never would have thought that. I would have thought the general philosophy work, you work guys like 400 days straight, put them in a small room together and see if they get along. Maybe you throw a vacation day every once in a while.
That's not a terrible idea.
There really wasn't any bickering, arguing today that at least I can think of.
A lot of creativity, productivity, great show, interesting.
But there's also, a lot of topics off the football, and then with the passing of Stuart Scott, that kind of hopefully brought us all together in some way, so we wouldn't go immediately back to the snarkiness and let it skip a day and maybe start it back up on Tuesday.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a heavy heart with the passing of former ESPN anchor Stuart Scott. Paulie, did you reach out to Dan after that story broke?
He actually texted me, and I think he texted all of us, but he texted us to let us know he had heard, and I turned on ESPN and started watching the coverage. And I've said this many times before, there's a weird thing you have when you're a producer of a show. All of us are producers. Producer of a show is that your emotions can get in real quick, or they're pushed aside while you're thinking, what do we do for the show? Now, we weren't on the air for another day, so we had a lot of time to think about this. But if this would have broke at 8:01 in the morning, on the day we're on air, you would instantly, and I mean instantly, start thinking, who should we have on? It's a very cold thing to do, but I thought about it. And since I had time, I watched the coverage. I really kind of marinated and thought about Stuart and his legacy. But 15 minutes later, I'm like, all right, when do I send the text out to people, who are we having on tomorrow? And I purposely waited so I didn't come off completely like a cold-blooded ass. And I waited about a half an hour, and then I sent a couple notes to people, the guys, and Dan, who do we have on and why?
Well, the boss did give a very heartfelt take on Stuart's legacy at the top of the show. Here it is, a clip of Dan remembering Stuart Scott.
What Stuart did when he did it is what I remembered, because it wasn't popular in the building. He shook things up, he changed things, he pushed the envelope a little bit, and then he pushed it a whole lot. And at the time, I remember management was trying to prevent another Chris Berman. And they didn't do a very good job. But thankfully, they didn't do a very good job, because Stuart was able to be himself and give you a voice that you'd never heard before. And there were times when I anchored with him when I didn't know what he was saying, but I knew that there were people who did understand what he was saying. And to have the guts and the courage, that's what's remarkable. So, Stuart, booyah.
I appreciated Dan's sentiments there, especially his honesty to be able to, share that with the audience today. That there were times where he just didn't get it, didn't know what Stuart was saying or what type of audience he was shooting for, who was going to appreciate some of the things that may have been considered a little strange or off the wall. So, I thought it was very well said, and it was obviously well thought out. And again, that was the thing that stood out the most to me, besides just the emotion of what Dan was feeling and looking back on his time at ESPN working with Stuart. The fact that there were times he was sitting right next to the guy and just wasn't really sure if this was going to work or what that was all about, and it may have been uncomfortable based on his interesting way and unique way of doing things. So I respected that a lot.
He's one in a million. Dan shared the stage with Stuart, as did Scott Van Pelt, and SVP called in today and talked about what it was like to host alongside the late anchor.
It's inherent in what we do to have an ego. And I don't mean an arrogance, I mean an ego. Because you have to have an ego to say, hey, what I'm going to tell you is worth listening to, and I'm going to present it in a way that is mine. And he had that. And when you sat next to him out there, and we'd look at each other and we'd just smile, and you said it in the piece, it's that 8-mile bit. It's like, hey, you better make sure that your rhyme counts, because when I get the mic, I'm going for mine. And again, it's not about I'm trying to win, but neither one of you wants to be the second guy, right? Whether it was you and Keith or you and Stuart or any of us, you want to make sure that you don't get dusted out there.
Yeah.
And so when it would be me and Stuart and things got going, I'd think, man, we're having fun, but I'm not playing for second tonight. I'm walking off. I'm getting the first star, whoever gives that out.
I find that to be a really interesting topic that Van Pelt hit on, because if you think about it, there's about 30 or 40 men and women in history who've hosted primetime sports centers. It's not as many as you think, and it's a real small fraternity. And for us to have any idea what they do for a living and the competitive nature of it, we have no idea. We in this room know because we worked with Dan Patrick the past decade. But for Van Pelt to say, like, hey, man, it's go time, and as casual Scott comes off as a person, he's a competitor just like Dan and Stu and all those guys were back in the day and still now. And so when you hear him say, like, hey, when I sat next to Stu, it's like, go time, and I'm not going to try to top you to make you look bad or top you, but we're here to win. Someone's going to win this race. And if we could both do this race together and win simultaneously, I want to be 1 inch ahead of you at the end of the race.
And it's one thing to think about, like, the day parts maybe are competing with each other, like one team against another team, the 6 o'clock versus the 11, or the 11 against the 1 or the 2. But to be on part of the same show, and they're actually, without you even realizing that they're competing with one another while they're live on national TV doing the same show together, I thought that was interesting. I thought the competition would mainly be between different hosts that are doing different times of the day, but that it's happening as they're doing it together, that they're trying to one-up each other a little bit. There's a nice look inside.
Well, that's what made it so fun. Let's go around the room here. Do you guys have any classic stories or memories regarding Stuart Scott?
I told a story in the box. I don't know if you're going to show it, but I was about 2 months into ESPN, and I was starting to get to know everybody in the radio department. And I had a pair of plaid pants on, which in Bristol, Connecticut, that's not common. I came from New York City. And I walked in this room, and some of the other producers are busting my chops about these plaid pants. And Stu walks in to cut this little piece he had to cut, and he goes, "What are you guys laughing at?" And they start busting on my pants. Stu gives me a look up and down. I've never seen Stuart Scott before in person, not even once. And he goes, kind of gave me like a head down, like they were okay. He goes, "Own those, Playboy." He goes, "Oh," and this is exactly how he goes, "Own those pants, Playboy." And he kind of gave me a little bump in the shoulder as he walked out. He walks out. About 30 seconds later, I walk out to go back to my desk, and Stu goes, "Hey." He goes, "I'm Stu," and he introduced himself. "I'm Paul. I'm a new guy in radio." He goes, "Hey. Where did you get those pants?" And I gave him the name of the story about those pants. And to this day, I wish I would have followed up and asked him, did he go to the store to buy some pants? I don't know, but it was like the only real, that was the first moment of meeting Stuart Scott. And I was, again, not intimidated, but he's a busy guy. I don't want to bother him. For him to just have fun with that moment, he could have just walked in the room and walked right out. But he had fun with every moment.
That is awesome. Steve Levy also called in, but before they could start talking about the late anchor, Dan actually thought that Steve was telling a story about another classic moment.
Hey, the vertebra story, man, that was good last night. I had not heard that one.
Oh, wait a minute. They played that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Because I think last time you were on, I had you give us the vertebrae story, and I didn't know they played it last night.
No, your vertebra story.
Oh.
With you and Stuart.
Oh, I thought you were talking about bulging disc on your part.
No. I was going to try to keep that out of this equation.
Oh, okay. My bad. My bad. I thought, oh my gosh, Levy's starting with bulging disc.
No.
You know, it was one of those things when I knew we were having Steve on. I was like, wow, I wonder if we're going to get to that story. And sure enough, wow, like how funny is it that it leads off like that through some kind of misunderstanding.
So
but that's an all-time classic, not even ESPN blooper, like TV blooper.
Yeah.
And that's just going to follow him. I mean, he has to embrace that, right?
Right. I'm not going to say poor Steve Levy because he's one of the most successful, fun-loving guys in the business. He's well off. He's a legend in this business. But on the day after Stuart Scott passes away, during an entire tribute segment to Stuart Scott, he can't avoid the bulging disc story, and because it's just an accident. It's the classic Levy moment. And Levy's going to even be sitting there driving going, I can't believe this. I can't believe it. You gotta have a sense of humor about it. Stuart Scott passes away. You think there's no chance today the bulging disc story, which has nothing to do with Stuart. It's not like Stuart was on set that day. Is not going to come up.
What are the odds that he would lead that story? That story had many components and ways to describe it. That he would call it the vertebrae story.
But that's Levy's fault.
Yeah, I know. Like, why would he call that the vertebrae story?
The time you guys played pickup or something,
Yeah, you
or
got
like
Purple
whatever it was.
No idea. Specifically the vertebrae story. And the fact that Dan made that connection, I'm like, I was so confused and I loved it.
Oh, man.
The bulging. Okay, well, stick around. Dan, he's going to need a bulging hat. It's going to be cold in Foxborough on Saturday.
We have to decide if we're all going gloves or hats. Like everybody's got to go in doing the same thing here. Scarves,
I'm
hats,
sorry,
gloves.
Dan,
what?
But you got to have a hat. There's no way my bald head can handle it out there. So we got to get you a nice hat so you can look fly.
Well, wait a minute. Am I going to have a lid?
We got to have something. We're going to make you look good, but you got to have some headwear so I can keep this bald head warm.
Welcome back to the Box Score. The NBC crew is heading to New England to cover the Ravens-Patriots divisional matchup. Dungy wants the guys to wear hats. Paulie, are there any plans to get Dan a lid for the cold weather?
Again, I'm going to go back to what I said before. Dan isn't on camera that much time. He's only outside a couple times a year. If you think about it, he's not, maybe once a year Dan's outside. And after the fiasco with the umbrellas a few years ago, I think this is Dan's chance to make a statement. He should pray for cold weather, snow, and do the thing that some of the guys on game day do. Bundle up. Then, as they say, you're back on air in 30. Hat off. Suit. Straight suit. And then the rest of the bald guys on set are going to be hurting.
I mean, asking Dan to wear a hat is sort of like asking him to wear sunglasses. Like, those are two of his three biggest strengths. His hair, his eyes, and then obviously his voice.
Right, and it's nuts to wear anything. I mean,
you might as well garble his voice like a 60 minutes.
Yeah, like give him helium before. It's like,
yeah,
exactly.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
This is his chance.
Do you guys think something bad's going to happen?
No, something great is going to happen. He's going to dominate Tony Dungy and Rodney Harrison.
Okay, well, one of the guys that will be on the field this Saturday is Ravens wideout Steve Smith. And the boss asked him, what was the coldest game that he had ever played in?
I think it was -20 in Wyoming.
Oh, so when you were at Utah, you went to Wyoming?
Yes, we went to Wyoming. It was -20. Yeah, and brother from L.A. never been in the snow. That was rough trade.
Okay, what did you wear?
I had on a turtleneck and all that stuff, but I quickly switched, doubled up things. Almost burnt my gloves off. I stayed by the heater. It was terrible.
Brutal. I was just thinking about when we did the Super Bowl in Dallas, and the first day it was really nice, and then after that there was this gigantic ice storm, and we were all freezing. But that first day, you go to Dallas, you don't plan on bringing like a winter coat and
It got
mittens.
insanely cold.
Yeah, I just remember actually looking at you, Fritzy,
I was so
and I've never seen a more miserable human being in my entire life.
You try to type with the gloves on, like your little keyboard, your phone.
You're somehow sweating and it's steaming, but then there's like snot and like your lips are all chapped and you're just like not doing well at all. And
like we were all in trouble.
The rest of this week is gonna be.
We were
really
all in trouble, but like we all kept as a show and all, we all kept looking towards you. I thought you might die.
Why am I freezing and sweating at the same time? It's awful feeling. You can't do your work or anything because you have these gloves on.
I remember, God bless the producers at DirecTV, someone has handed us this little blower heater. It was the smallest, unimpactful thing I've ever worked with in my life. It was this little blower that went in the thing. And if you put your hand right on top of it, it might warm it up like 3 degrees.
Yeah, and to make like add insult to injury, people would later show up in our broadcast who are like just fresh from REI, who have like their little earmuffs and everything, nice big puffy coat, and they're like, hey, yeah, you guys look cold over there, huh?
Remember we had that awesome set too? We were kicking field goals, we were planning all these fun things we were going to do on this football field we built. Then we were lucky if we were able to walk from the car to our jet.
Yeah.
But that being said, I'll say the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of that week, Super Bowl week in Dallas, was our best work.
Yeah.
Because we didn't complain like a bunch of you-know-what. And all the media guys complaining about, oh, it's so cold here in Dallas on my free paid trip to the Super Bowl. Nobody back home wants to watch that. We went out there with Jimmy Johnson and did the Leon Lett play.
Yeah, that was fun.
We were doing running back drills. We were out in the snow because if you're going to be cold, there's nothing you can do about it. But if you're cold and miserable, that's a choice. And so we went out and got busy with the snow, and it was great week.
Yeah, speaking of getting busy, I think, Fritzy, when the snot and sweat was rolling, it was probably when you were on top of a bull. Am I right?
Yeah, that was tough. I think I was reading my Cougar of the Week while they put me on a bull.
That's on the absolute lowest setting.
And to this day, I still have a right groin hernia situation that has to be addressed. And Siragusa is like doing play-by-play or something, and it was just a total disaster. And all I could think of the whole time I was on there was, how am I going to get off this thing? Because it was quite a. You don't see in that video how long it took to actually get on that thing. And then I'm feeling like this little bump in the without getting into the details.
Dude,
in the
that
right
was like
groin
4 years ago.
I know, it's still there. It's a little bigger this time. I don't know if it's good. Something. I'm either going to
You've had like 7 surgeries since then. Why didn't you just ask them to clip that?
Why don't you double up to get surf and turf?
You would think, but now it's I don't know if it's either going to explode and it's going to be an emergency situation. Or
now here's the other thing. Let's bring it full circle, Broccoli.
Yeah.
If my sources are correct, I think we're going to have livestock at the Super Bowl in Arizona.
Oh, boy.
Now, I don't know if we're having a bull or a horse. I've heard mixed rumors. Would you get on a horse in Arizona?
Could it be like a little pony, like a little Shetland pony,
sure.
some kind of cute toy-looking thing? I'll go on something that looks like a toy animal. But once it starts like moving with any.
Would you just trot around with a horse?
I would probably do that.
Okay.
As long as you guys someone can teach me how to not pull the wrong thing where it starts galloping away into a.
Would you go out as a clown in a rodeo and draw the attention of the bull?
I would not do that. Because that would be, I would definitely get gored by the bull, and especially with the groin situation, that would probably not be a smart thing for me to do. But if there's like a little cute pony there, I would probably trot around the town.
Bad for the pony.
Yeah, bad for the pony.
Yeah, pony's not going to want any pony.
Don't go away. Hopefully the guy's mock headline abilities are still going. That's up next. We are back here on the Box Score. The new year has provided us with tons to talk about and plenty of mock headlines. The producers have sifted through, found the favorites. It's time for the guys to prepare to do battle. You know what time it is.
Mock headline battle royale.
Our first headline: Jaromir Jagr becomes the oldest player in NFL history to score a hat trick at the tender age of 42. Seton, please start us off.
Whoa, new year.
How about that?
This is fancy. I don't know that I've ever done that.
Drop it.
A lot of pressure. Jagr bombs. Turns out you can teach an old devil new hat tricks.
Yeah,
that's right.
I like that.
Nifty. Paulie, what do you have?
Jagr, 42 plus 3 equals 45.
You knew that was
Mathematically
coming.
correct. Fritzy.
You old devil, 3 goals a Geritol order.
Wow. I see what you're saying there.
I don't know what generations remember Geritol.
About to go Centrum Silver.
What do you have?
Centrum Silver.
Hat tricky. Jagr scores 3 goals on team that thought he retired years ago.
Second headline: Oregon and the Ohio State win in the first ever college football playoff semifinal. Paulie, take it away.
Well, I was going to go SEC, but I know I've used that before. So I'm going to say bye-bye bias. SEC shut out of the title game.
Boom.
Relevant.
Seton.
Turning the tide. BCS looks more like BS these days.
McLovin, what do you have?
I've used variations of this, but it's worked. Final foreskin. Florida State and Alabama chopped off, and they didn't even have a moil.
Yeah.
Moil humor.
I love moil humor. Final
A
foreskin.
Brody Croyle.
Yeah. Swing and a bris. Fritzy, to you.
Swing and a brisk, nice. Crimson cried, and it ducks to be Florida State.
Third headline is Valencia snaps Real Madrid's 22-match win streak with 2-1 victory. McLovin, you have the con.
Now, I'm not sure I have the pronunciation correct here. Real Madrid, real disappointed.
Real.
5 good seconds there. Fritzy, what do you have?
I have 23 Skidon't. Fake Madrid can't win more than 22 straight.
That's from the 20s.
23 Skidon't? What the heck?
23 Skidoo?
1940.
My grandmother used to say that. She's 90.
Right. From 1914.
All right, here we go. I'll give this a shot. 22 de Valencia fotos Real Madrid partido racha con una victoria.
Muy bien, muy bien.
I know.
Very good.
I don't go bilingual. I get...
Claro que sí. Pauly, ¿qué tienes?
I probably used this about 7 times. Keeping it real. Valencia KOs Madrid.
Keeping it real.
¿Quién es más malo? Our last headline. Cowboys come back from 10-point halftime deficit to defeat the Lions. Fritzy, it's all yours, Big Daddy.
We need a little more cowboy. Where there's will, there's a way. Cowbell? Cowboy?
Will Ferrell?
I'm sorry. All right, McLovin, go ahead.
Todd Paul, you please cover yourself a little bit, move away. Despicable. Lions robbed on controversial call. Dez. That was Dez.
Despicable.
Pauly, what do you have?
While he's jonesing for high fives, he still can't complete a high five.
A lot of booze.
Wow, what's these people? Seton, your headline, please.
Detroit PO'd over PI non-call, says outlaw cowboy refs were actually lying.
Lying.
Alrighty.
That's not even a complete thought.
The mock headline championship belt goes to the favorite son of Dartmouth, McLovin.
Yeah, baby. 2015 mock headline champion to start.
That's the way to get it started. It's upside down. Upside down.
Stay with us. The Football Night in America Challenge is entering the stretch run. We'll update it next. We are closing up shop here on the box score, and with the new year upon us, we are heading down the back stretch of this fascinating contest. Let's see how it's all going to unfold in this edition of
Football Night in America Challenge.
Let's recap where we left off. At the end of the year 2014, we asked you guys who would throw the most touchdown passes between the Bengals and the, what was it, the Steelers, that was it. Would it be Dalton or would it be Big Ben? Well, they tied at 2 touchdowns apiece, and the only guy that said that was McLovin, so you're going to get the closest to the whole points on that. We also asked you who would strike first. Would it be Dalton or Big Ben? And Red tossed it in the end zone first, so that's an additional point for McLovin and for Seton. So the leaderboard, as it sits right now, I am still atop of the mountain with 14. McLovin is in third, but Seton's behind with 12. McLovin has leapfrogged Pauly, that's right. And Fritzy, you have virtually been mathematically eliminated. So, I mean, are you cheering for anyone in this backstretch?
I'll cheer for my my back row partner McLovin, but that's very disappointed how I'm pretty much done already. Then nowhere near the top of the leaderboard. I thought I thought I'd be at least middle of the pack. That's my nature to kind of be right in the middle. And to be at the bottom is just something that's I'm gonna have.
Well,
a
you
tough
got
time
hope.
doing.
Hopefully, you can finish right at third
if
place.
I can finish right in the middle of the group, that's what we're shooting for.
Well, how about we give you a chance to get an
additional
additional point here? With that out of the way, we're going to give you a question regarding the NBC wildcard game between the Ravens and the Steelers. And in the interest of fairness, the producer is going to feed me the question right now. Oh Lord. Okay, who caught Big Ben's first touchdown pass? Pauly.
One of their wide receivers. Well, I only know one player, Antonio Brown.
McLovin?
Martavis Bryant.
Seton?
I was going to say Antonio Brown, so I'm going to stick with that.
I was going to say Antonio Brown because that was the only other player that I thought. But now since McLovin said Martavis Bryant, I'm going to go with him.
I'm going to guess Bryant because I have no idea who's on the Steelers. Let's see who the answer, who the correct man is.
One of the two. There are two receivers.
Martavis Bryant. All right, so I guess I was going to say that we wouldn't show you an updated leaderboard because our graphics guys were drunk, but we actually do have an updated leaderboard
I should
here.
have gained a point out of it. He called him Martavius. He'd never even heard of Martavis Bryant.
Who he is. Today was the first day in my entire life I've heard of this person.
Where'd he go to college? Seton cannot get that point unless he tells me where he went to college.
You would have done the same thing if he guessed first.
Yes.
Yeah, I know, of course. He went to Texas.
Texas Southern.
Just say Tech. Just say he went to Tech.
Yeah, he went to State.
Big State.
He went to Clemson, dude.
Yeah, of course he did. Man. SEC bias. Okay, Fritzy, who's on tomorrow?
Martavius.
That's not even SEC.
Oregon coach Mark Fish getting ready for Ohio State, and Reginald Aloysius Miller tomorrow.
Oh, man, that's okay.
It's like throwing a flag and picking it right up. That's the equivalent of what just happened. You threw the flag and you picked it up.
Thank you, guys. No flag on the play. This has been the Box Score. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern right here on Audience Channel 239. If you're on the go, catch the podcast available at iTunes or podcast1.com. Booyah.
I don't know a lot about sports, but I can drink a lot of beer.
My motto is simple. C's get degrees.
Need a long, inappropriate hug? I'm your man.
I think I'm smarter than you because I probably am.
Hey, thanks for watching the Box Score. Holy cow!